You've been lied to your entire life, not by one person, not by one company, by a system specifically designed to require two incomes to function and to make absolutely sure you never notice while it's happening to you. Hi, I'm Anna Hart. I focus on one thing, understanding how money really works, because clarity is rare and confusion is expensive. This didn't start with your mortgage. It didn't start with your credit card balance. It started in a quiet suburb in 1971, with a shift so slow and so gradual that nobody wrote about it until it was already completely irreversible. Back in the 50s, one income was enough. One job, one house, one car. 2 kids in the backyard. That was just normal life. Not luxury, not privilege, just normal. Families weren't particularly rich. They just had enough. And enough felt completely fine. The bills got paid. There was food on the table, maybe a vacation in the summer, maybe a small savings account that grew a little every month. Nobody was worried about the future the way we worry about it now. They weren't smarter. They weren't more disciplined. They just lived inside a different system. Everyone believed that if you worked hard, you would keep up. That was the promise. That was the deal you were handed at birth. That was what your parents told you, and what their parents told them. And it had been true long enough that nobody ever thought to question it. And that's exactly where things started to go wrong. But here's the part nobody tells you. The system didn't collapse. It evolved. Quietly. And what it evolved into was something that looks exactly like progress from the outside, but functions exactly like a trap on the inside. And the cruelest part is that every step felt like a choice you were making freely. At first, it looked completely normal. Women entered the workforce in growing numbers across the 1960s and 1970s. And let's be clear, that was real progress. Genuine, hard-won progress. More freedom, more opportunity, more economic independence. And 2 incomes meant 2 paychecks, which meant families could afford more than before. They could bid higher on houses. They could stretch further than their single-income parents ever dreamed. And for a moment, just a brief moment, that felt exactly like getting ahead. It worked. For a while. And then the market noticed. Because when every household simultaneously shifted from 1 income to 2, every price in the economy quietly recalibrated to match the new available income. Housing prices didn't just drift upward. They climbed, then doubled again. The cost of living stopped rising the way it always had, slowly and predictably with inflation. Instead, it rose with income. It rose to absorb every additional dollar the second paycheck brought in, almost as if the economy could sense exactly how much money was circulating and automatically adjusted itself to consume all of it. And now everyone was doing it. Every household sending 2 workers into the labor market simultaneously. Every family bidding against every other family for the same limited inventory of homes. The more people joined, the higher prices climbed. The higher prices climbed, the more desperately you needed that second income just to stay in the same place. Not to get ahead. Not to build wealth. Just to maintain the same basic standard of living your parents maintained on a single income, with far less stress and far more time at home. This is where the system broke. Here's what the actual numbers show. In the early 1970s, a median income family spent roughly 36% of their monthly take-home pay on their mortgage. Today, that number sits closer to 47%, and in cities like Los Angeles, New York, or Miami, it's significantly higher. Families today are working harder than their parents did, logging more hours, sending 2 people into the workforce instead of 1, giving up more sleep, more time with their kids, more flexibility. And after all of that, they are still spending a larger share of their income on housing than their single-income grandparents did a half-century ago. The second income didn't make you richer. It simply raised the floor you had to reach just to live the same life. But it gets darker. And this is where it gets genuinely dangerous. When a household adds a second income, it doesn't just receive more money, it immediately acquires an entirely new category of fixed expenses that did not exist before. Childcare, because someone has to watch the children while both parents work, runs anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000 per year in most American metro areas. There is the second vehicle, because two careers almost always mean two completely separate commutes. The convenience meals, because nobody has time or energy to cook from scratch after a full workday. The cleaning service. The subscriptions. The outsourced logistics of daily life that replace the hours you no longer have. Add the higher marginal tax rate that activates when two incomes combine on a joint return, and the actual math starts looking very different from the simple addition it appears to be on paper. When economists run these numbers carefully and account for all associated costs, the net value of the average second income, after taxes, after childcare, after transportation, after everything it generates, lands somewhere between $800 and $1,500 per month in actual purchasing power. Not per week. Per month. That is the real number. That is what you are actually trading for your time, your presence, your flexibility, and every last bit of financial breathing room you might otherwise have built into your life. And that is still not the part that should genuinely alarm you. The part that should alarm you is this: what happens the moment one income stops? Families built around one working income had a structural safety net. If the primary earner lost their job, the other partner could enter the workforce. There was slack in the system. There was room to respond. A margin for error that functioned like a shock absorber every time life became unpredictable, and life always becomes unpredictable eventually. Two-income families have no buffer. Both people are already fully deployed. There is no one in reserve. There is no backup. The household requires both paychecks arriving every single month just to make the minimum payments, keep the mortgage current, keep the electricity running. One job loss, one serious illness, one major unexpected expense, and the entire structure begins to come apart faster than anyone ever expects, because there was never any margin built in to absorb it. You didn't build more security. You built more fragility wrapped in the appearance of security. And the system understood this perfectly. Not through conspiracy, not because of any executive who decided to make your life harder, but through the slow, grinding, entirely impersonal logic of markets responding to behavior over decades. Prices rise to absorb available income. Costs expand to fill available time. The economy is extraordinarily efficient at extracting every dollar you earn and every hour you have until there is nothing left. It didn't trap you with force. It trapped you with options, with choices that looked like freedom, with upgrades that felt like progress, with a mortgage you could just barely service as long as both of you stayed employed, stayed healthy, and nothing went catastrophically wrong for the next 30 years. Two incomes didn't liberate the family. Two incomes quietly became the new minimum floor just to survive the way a single income once allowed a family to genuinely live. And now the generation entering the housing market today is finding something even more disorienting. Even two incomes isn't always enough. College-educated couples in their 30s are sharing apartments with roommates. The math on homeownership does not close in any major city, no matter how long you save. The original promise, work hard now, get ahead eventually, has been quietly retired without announcement. Nobody made a speech. It just stopped being true sometime in the last 20 years, and by the time people noticed, the new system was already fully in place. And they built a brand new version of the trap while you were busy trying to make the last one work.